So don't forget to do that. So I am recording this. I hope that's going to be okay with everyone. This is so that people who were not able to make it, there was a big request for me to do this so that people can review this for later, so that they have a handle on it. So I'm going to go ahead and I've shared it and shared it and shared it, but I'm going to share it again because I'm going to be going off of this as sort of my guide for today's demonstration. And I'm, Jason, that's not a problem. You know, if you have camera, great. If you don't, but you still want to ask a question, you still raise your hand and we'll just hear your audio. So I've just posted a link to a Google Doc that everyone here should know about. And if you don't, I'm hoping that you do now. It is the Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition on Astral Doc. And that is, as I said, what I am going through to guide you, because I literally created this shortly after Steve Wick of Drive-Thru-RPG and I worked together to get the character sheet, the official character sheet, stood up on Astral. So, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and get seriously going at 12:05. Once I start going, Jennifer, if you will be kind enough to poke people when they come on and let them know that they need to turn their cameras off and let them know about the
Hello, you. I'm on. Sorry.
So, all right. Wish me luck, folks. This should be interesting. That was Corinne. Tell you what, gonna start this off as a proper Irishman. And yes, I'm wearing ridiculous pants, but I am wearing pants. That's true. The pants and the shirt do in fact make an outfit, because these are the colors of the brown coats. All right. So it's 12:05, and I'm touching you all with a proper nip of Tullamore Dew. It's a Sunday morning. I'm sure I'm fine. Okay. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Sean Patrick Fannon, and I am the co-creator of Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition. I worked with Len Pimentel, who is on the screen right now with us. Len is the creator. He created the original Prowlers and Paragons. I will go ahead and do the very quick story, which is I was working on a game system called Handfuls of Dice. It was my love letter to 4th edition Champions era, but I was trying to create a much more streamlined game. But I wanted some crunch, and I wanted to be able to roll lots of 6-sided dice, because that part, you know, the visceral aspect, that was always fun for me. And then Savage Rifts came along, and it was a huge, amazing opportunity for me professionally. And I could not work on Handfuls of Dice because of that. So I had to shelve it, but I still wanted to be doing supers in the background. And so I went looking, and I started looking at all the different top lists for superhero games. And this game, Prowlers and Paragons, kept popping up on all these top 5 and top 10 lists. And I'm like, why is that familiar to me? Like, Len, holy shit, that's Len's game. Len and I had met years before, thanks to Corinne. He had played in a Savage Worlds game that Corinne was running at Gen Con, and there was this big, huge Savage Saturday night event that we were all part of. So she brought Len over, introduced me, and it was like two brothers of a different mother kind of thing. We connected, just became really, really good friends. And but I had not immersed myself in his design aesthetic until that time. And when I did, I fell head over heels in love with it. I said, well, shit. And I'm probably going to drop a few PG-13 lines. Just welcome to Sunday morning with me. I said, well, shit, my work, I don't even need to do this because this. But then I started looking at it, and then he started looking at it. And what, like 6 years later, Len, is it now? 6 years? 6 years later, we have this fantastic freaking game called Prowlers Paragons Ultimate Edition. So we are on the very cusp of releasing the big, beautiful, pretty book. We've put plenty of art and stuff out there, so if you've been following along, you've seen it all. Len is in charge of putting all the last of it together. But in the meantime, I've been on the front lines of letting you all know about it and get excited about it, and that includes during this pandemic period of time finally adopting stuff that I've really been putting off for a long time, which is online gaming opportunities. And the people at Astral Virtual Tabletop, which, by the way, if you look on the screen, you see a name, Brianna. I don't remember, Babuder. You can correct me on that, Brianna, but Bree.
Babuder.
Babuder. Thank you, Bree. So Bree is one of the people with the Astral team, and she's here with us now. They have been incredibly supportive of us having an official presence on Astral. That's why we're on Astral instead of really pushing on any of the other virtual tabletops. I have a very, very good relationship with them. I have a very good relationship with Steve Wick, who I worked for a long time, and Corinne also currently works for, because Steve Wick is the top guy at Drive-Thru RPG and all the Drive-Thru sites, and Drive-Thru has a direct partnership and is a stakeholder in Astral. So yes, it's all very incestuous, but hey, that's cool, because that means I have inside people, and that's why we're having this. My dog, who thinks she's starving to death, messing with her bowl back there. Anyway, so we're set up on Astral, and that's why we come to today, which is to show all of you guys how to have some fun with Astral, with Prowlers Paragons on Astral. Just scanning a real quick thing. Professor, aka Michael Surbrook, would like to go ahead and point out, and then I'm going to do further introductions. Well, actually, go ahead and throw your camera on for a second there, Professor, so everybody can see you. That is Michael Surbrook. He is a partner in Evil Beagle Games. And he and I are both working feverishly on a number of settings. With Prowlers and Paragons, we're going to have this thing called the Omniverse. And the Omniverse is our mega construct to create and present multiple settings and lots of fantastic content. We want to create the golden heyday of superhero gaming. We want to create the new golden heyday of that. You know, in the great days of some of the classic supers games of the past, like one of the first ones that come along that really inspired a lot of us was V&V, Villains and Vigilantes. And they put out all this really, really great content. It was really exciting, and we were all like, oh my God, there's all this cool stuff to play with. The next wave of that was Champions. And that was where my career started. And that's also where Michael Surbrook did a lot of work as well. Robert Dorff is another well-known Champions aficionado, which I'm very, very proud to have Robert hanging out with us. The fact is, Robert's also got a setting idea that he's planning on, which is a luchador-based setting, but it'll actually be in the Omniverse along with everything else. Professor's got The Well, Kaze 5, I'm drawing a blank on the other ones right now, but there's just all these really great ones that I'm sure he can put a list in the chat. I'm working on Unending War, which is Golden Age meets Diesel Punk. I'm working on Star Chasers, which is going to be an epic space fantasy. And you saw Joe Thomas on the screen. He is the guy in charge of the fan group for Freedom Squadron, which has been presented and out there in Savage Worlds. Well, we are working on the official Prowlers and Paragons version of that now. In fact, I was literally working on the document today prior to this thing. So again, I've introduced Len Pimentel, the creator, who I'm incredibly proud to be working with, and Jennifer Shinefeld. She is our senior editor at Evil Beagle Games. She is your co-host today. She's the one that's going to be kind of keeping an eye on how things are going, making sure everybody knows what's how to let me know if they have a question as we go forward. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. As I said, I in the chat, if you've just joined us, there's the document that I'm going to be going off of, the Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition on Astral, which is a guide to everything that I'm about to cover, quite frankly. But I'm going to cover a few other things like how to actually play this thing. So now I'm going to share screen and get us started. Let me find the appropriate screen, and here we go. All right. So this is your welcome to Astral page. I'm assuming a lot of you have already gone through and played around with that a little bit and have gotten into it, but I'm just going to take the journey with you as if you're just starting with it. So we're going to actually go into Astral. I'm hoping that this works as well as I'm expressing. There's Astral, like every other virtual tabletop system going, is enjoying embarrassment of riches. So you can see I'm already involved, so I already have all of this stuff going on. I really can't go back to the very, very beginning, but once you get in and get your account set up, and yes, it's free to set up an account on Astral. And right now, because they're amazing human beings, they've opened up all of the cool stuff for GMs for free for a while to let them really see all the cool stuff they can do. Yes, there is a paid version, and it kind of needs to be. These people need to get paid. So, you know, I don't have a problem with them having a paid level to get all the really, really cool stuff. And they have a marketplace where you can buy all the neat bits and pieces. So you can see where I've set up a Shaintar campaign, and I have a number of other Shaintar games. I've got the Big Irish P&P test bed, which is just where I go in and mess around, and me and some of the Astral people will put stuff together. The Modern Gods Sentinels campaign, which I've been running on, and another Shaintar campaign called Hold Back the Storm. So yes, I've been doing, for me personally, Shaintar games. I want to be very clear. This is for my own personal use. I am not doing this with Savage Mojo. I'm just having some fun seeing how Shaintar would work. And I'm using Shaintar as a way to figure out how to do stuff that's not pure supers. But let's go to the vault. All right, so I'm just going to open up the vault. This is what all of you should have when you create a character or create an account, whether it's just as a player or as a GM. Now, as a GM, I have a vault that gives me like my assets, my maps, and all this other kind of stuff going on. As a player, I'm going to assume you at the very least have a characters section for your vault. So I am
John, I'm going to interrupt you for just a minute about this.
Please, yes.
They actually will have assets, my maps, all this stuff that you are showing on your screen, even as a player.
Okay, I did not know that. Thank you for telling me.
You're welcome. It's either if you're a GM or player, you will still have access to this information.
Perfect. You've just doomed yourself, however, Brianna, because I'm going to go ahead and make you also a co-host if it will let me.
That is perfectly fine. Go right ahead.
I got to. Oh, there's a lot of people here. So I think I can make multiple people co-hosts. All right, cool. That worked. All right. So Brianna is Bri is one of our co-hosts now, since she obviously knows a lot about what this is going on.
Sean?
Yes, Jennifer.
Question from David Alexander Parker.
Okay. Go ahead, David.
Hello. It's good to see you. How you been? My question is, what's the difference between this system and the Roll20 system that most people use online?
Well, I'm going to give you the easy one, and I'm going to the non-competitive one. But just a straight up answer: Astral cooperate with me to get an official character sheet put on, whereas I frankly didn't pursue it with Roll20 because, quite frankly, Roll20 is the choice that a lot of people are on, and therefore it's crowded and there's a lot going on there. They simply didn't have the time and the resources to work with me. That doesn't mean that they won't or that they can't, but I made a personal choice. So the real difference is me. I made the choice to pursue the relationship with Astral. Astral has a direct relationship with DriveThruRPG. And because of that, because of my relationship with DriveThruRPG, because Evil Beagle Games has a very good relationship with DriveThruRPG, it was, quite frankly, a marketing choice. So we made the marketing choice to work with Astral, where we knew we were going to have the support and where I was going to have an easier time getting the official character sheet up. And when I get to that part, when you see what the official character sheet does, you'll understand why it was important to have that level of support.
Cool. Another quick question, if you don't mind me asking another one, if that's okay.
Go right ahead.
So I myself backed the project, as you know, from the get-go. And like, so will there be like a special key code for those who backed it to get like the actual core book added to the actual system? Are you like going to sort of like give out like little key codes or something like that so that people don't have to buy the book again to play online? You know,
there's no requirement to have the book to play online.
Okay.
You don't need a book. There is no content aspect to this. In other words, there's no, I must have the official Prowlers and Paragons book via Astral in order to play Prowlers and Paragons on the system. It doesn't work that way. Having the book that you've purchased is all you need. The character sheet will work as a character sheet. Again, I think that will become more clear when we get to that point.
Okay, thank you so much for asking my question.
Absolutely.
I really apologize for your for the
David,
interruption.
I'm also going to point out here, right now, Astral does not have what's known as a compendium for any system. So if you're using your D&D Beyond or any other systems, we do not have it fully integrated with Astral at this time. It is something we are looking into.
Oh, okay.
So,
cool. Thank you so much for your feedback. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Right now, I'm kind of comfortable with that. It does put more work on the publishers to work with Astral to make sure that the character sheets are dynamic enough that they function all their own without having these compendiums or direct interaction with IP. It means that we have to create the IP access ourselves. And that's okay, because that means, as you just pointed out, David, if you bought the book and you log into Astral and you set Prowlers and Paragons as your system for the game that you're setting up that you want to play or create a character for, you don't have to have a special code for anything else. You'll be able to make the character and you're good to go. So with that in mind, let us continue, if we may. And again, when I'm sharing screen, there's like this tiny little box that represents that people are still on Zoom. So that's why Jen's got to kind of keep an eye out, and Jen just holler at me like anybody else and say, hey, stop, because we need to have a thing. All right, so we are in the My Characters section for the person who is just going to sign on and, I want to make a character and have it ready to get into Sean's game or into Len's game or whatever. You go to the Create New tab, and I'm hoping everybody can kind of see the happy little green hand, because, I went green because Big Irish, what do you want? So Create New, and in my case, it's going to be Create New Character because that's what I'm trying to show off. Now, when you get to this screen, as you can see, it defaults to Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition because that's what I've been making all along, but you have all of these other options that are preloaded. Many of them do have preset character sheets. A lot of them don't yet, because the whole idea is, hey, we want to show all these games that we think you can play on here, but Astral is also very open to people coming in and going, I'm willing to be the person who creates an official version of this game. And that's what happened. I went to Astral and we worked together to create a Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition character. And you'll see the message here. This system has a template. That means it will be created with predefined attributes and actions so you can more easily customize it and jump into your game. Now, just as an example, let's go with this Carbon 2185. This system does not yet have a template. And then it says you guys have actions and attributes. You can actually go in and create character sheets. And that's a whole thing I'm not going to get into with this tutorial. But you could right now open up this page and you would be able to craft a Carbon 2185 dynamic character sheet. You would take an image, which would be a PDF or whatever, or a JPEG image of an actual physical character sheet that then becomes the background, and then you go in and insert all the bits and pieces so that you have the actions and attributes and everything like that. So you can yourself go in as a creative person and put in any character sheet for any game you want, or even a modified character sheet. Like, I want to play P&P, but I want to have my own custom Prowlers and Paragons sheet that's not the same as the ones that these guys put up. That's perfectly fine. And once you get a handle on how to do all this stuff, you can do your own freaking character sheet within your own game instances. All right, so.
Sean?
Yes?
Professor has his hand up.
Go ahead.
So, quick question. What I'm looking at right now on the screen is your template, correct?
It is the official Prowlers and Paragons template.
So how easy is it to edit this to represent the different talents in, say, your Shaintar or my well game?
It is, in fact, very easy. But if you'll do me a favor, can we put that can we bring that back forward again later? Yes, you can do it. Very, very easy. Have done it. Remind me to cover that when we get past the basics of the tutorial.
Okay.
Thanks. He's absolutely right, though. I can totally go in, and if first off, I have to be in build character. I'm just going to skip ahead real quick, just because I'm already thinking about it. So, you say medicine. You want to edit it, the sheet display. You would say healing because you want to do fantasy, and right there on the screen it changed to healing. It's as simple as that, really, for that part. You just trade them out. Now, the way the sheet's currently set up is there's only room for 12, right? There's not. If you wanted to have 14 or 20 talents for some reason, you'd have to go ahead and put in a custom back sheet. Now, when I say custom back sheet, what I'm saying is, and I'm going to go ahead and because you can reduce things, right? Because you want more screen, screen real estate. So I just moved that over, so I have more real estate to play with here. But this is literally an image of the official character sheet right out of the Prowlers and Paragons book. Right now, the Prowlers and Paragons waiting room edition. And all I did was I put that up, and then I put in, I actually put it into Paint, and I edited a couple of things so that I had what I wanted for the final sheet, but it's based on the image of the original character sheet. So, for example, the original character sheet really only has good room for 12 talents. If you were like, I have to have 20 talents, you're going to want to create your own character sheet and then put it up as the back image that you then lay on all the text and cool stuff. So, kind of skipped ahead here a little bit. Let's mark down those questions for the crazy alt uses for later. I want to get back to just kind of showing off how to create a Prowlers and Paragons character from the book onto the sheet. So it's a little complex because superhero games are inherently complex. And they're interfacing it with their system that they designed to be as universal as possible means there's got to be a little bit of give and take and play. So let's first take a look over here where we see the name of the character. Right now, you note I'm not changing the name on the character sheet, and the reason for that is because they set it up so that the name has a code value to the experience. The name then gets preloaded where it belongs on the character sheet, but it also appears in other places during gameplay where it's supposed to. Like it'll appear over the token that you're using for the character, and so on and so forth. So they set it up to have a specific code value. So what I'm going to, actually, that's trying to change the game system. I don't actually want to do that, derp. That's the name. Sorry, I got a little confused there. I could actually go in right now and change the game system for this character if I wanted. And it would give me a new template or a new option for template. That's what I was actually accidentally doing. I don't want to do that. What I do want to do, however, is we're going to recreate Reliant, which is my Superman-ish character. Just because I've got it easy on hand and know the character. So I put in the name Reliant, and that's going to populate in the name part on here, and it's going to pop out everywhere else. I can also change the token so that it looks more like what I want. Now, you'll note I've got all these cool tokens and images. I could stick almost anything in there. If I wanted Reliant to look like an elf, I could go into this Token Essentials March of the Elves, and I could have, all these really cool elf images. to choose from, and I could make Reliant look like an elf. Now, granted, what we're talking about here, obviously, is that this system is set up for support of as many game systems as possible, but fantasy is king in gaming, so there's a lot of fantasy stuff. And, you know, there's a lot of cool fantasy images that work great for Super's characters, so I'm not really worried about it. However, you also have the option to upload your own assets. Assets are all the bits and pieces that you can put in graphically to then drop into the game to play with. So I've already imported assets. That's why I've clicked open that. I've got all my little folders that I've set up. And yes, you can create folders to put in all your neat things, because I've gone on to DriveThruRPG and I've purchased all kinds of VTT maps. I'm backing 2 VTT map creators. Heroic Maps, by the way. Holy crap, those guys are amazing. Total, I did not get paid for that. They're just good and they deserve the shout out. Heroic Maps. Anyway, so I grabbed a whole bunch of stuff and then I sorted out into... What? Yeah, I'm getting heckled by Corinne, who's at her computer behind me. She's like, "Oh my God, huge file sizes." They are huge file sizes because they're really, really detailed. So anyway, I also just have that open here, and you'll note that I have a Reliant image already ready. So I grabbed that and put it in so that that's when I'm playing the game with Reliant, I now have my Reliant image that was made in Champions Online. Okay, so there's a few other things that I can do in the current interface that we have. Just give me a second, because there's one more thing I forgot to do before I got started here. I forgot to open up my Reliant character sheet beforehand. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and tell you is this. It is absolutely a better idea to go ahead and create your character in the normal fashion, pen and paper, form fillable, PDF, whatever. Oh, that's the wrong one. I don't want that one. Crap. Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. Apologies. And now Microsoft Word is going to go a little nuts, but let me just make that go away. Stop. Go away. Why are you not going away? Thank you. I opened the wrong thing. That's the one I want. Come on. Sorry, like I said, forgot to. It will open any day now. I got a lot going on here, so unfortunately.
Sean, you might want to stop sharing your screen and share it again.
Okay, I'm going to stop share and share again because that's probably a good idea. All right, sorry about that, folks. All right, so real quick. Sharing again, just so I can show you, I've made Reliant up elsewhere, and it's one of our earlier having fun, making cool, pretty character sheet kind of things. But however you want to do your character, I would recommend you doing it elsewhere. So go ahead and make your character up, put it on a character sheet, and then transfer the information over to this sheet. It's just going to be trying to create from scratch on this sheet. I would imagine it would be frustrating. It's an easier fashion to go ahead and make your character. When your character's done, now we put it into the cool online character sheet. So I'm going to stop sharing that. So that was just so you guys could see what I'm going to be working from as I go back to insert stuff. Sorry, hang on a second. Too many windows. All right, here we go. Now I can share that screen and it will be more what I want to do. Boom. All right, here we go. All right, so we're back on the thing. Everybody with me so far? Is there any urgent, oh my God, what's going on? Okay, I'm going to assume we're okay. So we've put the name in. Now, the next thing under is this really cool health bar thing, right? So when you are playing on Astral, the game assumes you're going to have health or some other kind of regularly spent resource or regularly changed resource. It's really easy for those of us playing this game because, we have literally health. So you go ahead and put in, the health. Reliance health is 12. So I put it on both sides. The reason being is it's X number out of 12. So as we're playing the game, the number on the left will go down once, Reliant gets the crap beat out of him, which happens all the time. And the GM can change it as the game goes, or the player can change it, or whatever. But the other number stays 12, and then when you're trying to heal, or someone comes up and heals you or whatever, there's a tool to make that number go up and down. So that's the more important place to put the character's health. Now, you'll note that there is a place to put the character's health on here. So you come over to the health section here, click to edit, and it's just a text field. All the blue things, all the blue, notable blue bits on here are text fields. Text fields are just that. They are for you to change the text on. They don't have any gameplay effect at all. They're just a text thing that you can change. So in this case, sorry, I'm incorrect. All the blue things are not just text. Sometimes they're text, sometimes they're a stat. But either way, you'll go in and just change them because, that's all you had to do. So I'm putting in 12, and again, you'll see it changes. Now, one of the things I need to point out, you'll note that when I do a thing, then I click over into the blue hex areas. That's because that's how the system uses a click away to save. So in other words, Reliant is actually a character built on 165 points. It's a pretty long running campaign we've been playing. So he's up to 165 points. So I put that into the text field, and then I just click over here, and that auto saves it. Everything's constantly auto saving. So you do not need to hit a save anything as you're going. When you're creating your thing, it's auto saving in the space that you're in. Reliant, for different reasons, has 3 resolves. So I'll go ahead and put that in. So there we go. Now, I'm not going to change the edge because I'll show you why I'm not going to change the edge. There are stats. So let me go ahead and back up and say, you'll note up at the top, there are 4 types of things you can put on a character sheet. So as I built this character sheet, I used these different 4 things. Text was what I was just playing with. So I put text boxes in the resolve, in the health, here in the hero points. Also put it in the alias, the team, the motivation, and like perks. I made, those are all text boxes that we put in so that you could write that stuff in. I'll cover check boxes here in a little bit. Stats are numbers the system can look up and do something with. Whereas actions are a way to code in that something happens, that a roll is made. And in the particular case of Prowlers and Paragons, it's pretty much straight up that actions are the way we set up so that you click on them and boom, it sends a roll automatically over to the chat window and shows you how many successes you got. So red, those are all actions. So if we're in gameplay, I can just click on perception and it will look up the perception stat, which is right here, and go, oh, I rolled that many dice, and I tell the player how many successes I got. Now, stats are all over here in this nice little scroll down thing. So one of the stats is reliant, and that's a weird thing because you're like, how can that be a stat? But because it has function in the game, it is considered a stat for the purpose of the system. But we already put reliant in up here. Leave it alone. Reliant's agility is 13. His intellect is 6. And his might is 15. Yes, he's a buff boy. Now, this is one of those things you guys just kind of go with it, okay? Because of the order we did things in when we put this character sheet together, Edge just wound up in that place in the line. It has nothing to do with where it is on the character sheet. It just has to do with when we made it. So we put in agility, intellect, and might, and then Steve was asking me about Edge. Steve Wick is the guy who, by the way, helped me put this character sheet together. We did it as a little tutorial. So Edge just wound up here. Reliance Edge is 18, so we just write in 18. Now I'm going to click away, and if you look over here, look, his Edge clicked in as 18. And you'll note that Edge is an action, that will look up the edge stat and, quote, roll it. Now, Prowlers and Paragons, cut, take two. Prowlers and Paragons does not normally use a dynamic edge or dynamic initiative system. It's a static initiative system. Whatever your edge is, that puts you in a certain place in the order. However, Astral is set up for random initiative systems. And in order to interface accordingly with the initiative tracker, which I'm going to show you guys in a little bit, we needed to set edge up as a rolled stat so that it would be then sent into the system and would put all the characters in the appropriate order. So in a D&D game, everyone would roll their initiative, which would be a stat on the D&D character sheet, and it would roll a d20 and it would add whatever your initiative modifier is, and then it would put your character into the initiative tracker in the appropriate place. Well, in Prowlers and Paragons, we don't normally roll. And if we do, we're rolling with stupid high dice, and that's an alternate thing that we're not setting the character sheet up for. So we just use the static edge. And boom, we set it up so that it's rolled, but what it really is a static number not rolled gets sent into the initiative tracker, and off we go. So that's why it's set up as a stat. And when the GM says, okay, everybody, click your edge or roll your edge, you would click on your edge value for your character. It would get sent to the initiative tracker, and then the GM would have the cool auto-generated list. Now I could go through and show you, putting in the rest of Reliance, Perception, Toughness, Willpower, the academics. Reliance academics is 3D. His charm is 4D. He's a decent looking guy. Anyway, so, so on and so forth, right? And then during the game, at any time, I can roll one of these abilities or talents just by clicking on that thing. Let me go and take a break and show you what that looks like. So I'm going to exit build character. And, well, actually, I can't show you yet. I just realized I'm in the vault. I'm not in a game instance. My apologies.
Hey, Sean, I just want to point out as well, can you go back into the build character for everybody?
All right.
You could actually drag your rolls, your actions onto that bottom bar there with what looks like the magic wands. I was
going to get to that.
Okay.
That's later in the thing.
Okay.
That is later in the show.
Okay.
What she's getting at is what I call this is the quick bar down here. These little magic wands. That is the part that makes this so sweet, because you can just stack in all your most used attacks, defenses, everything like that into this quick bar. And during gameplay, you don't even have to open your character sheet like every once in a while, because almost everything you're going to want to do is going to be down here. And I'm going to show you that. Just hadn't got to it yet. I'm going to go into a game instance and pull the finished Reliant into it, because kind of like cooking shows, I'm showing you how to cook this character, but I already have a finished version of this character that I can pull out of the oven and then show you what to do with it. And I just heard Len. I could hear Len thinking, I'll tell you what to do with it. Anyway, so I was just showing you how the abilities and talents work. Now you'll note that over here we've got powers. Going to get into that in just a minute, but while we're scrolling down the left side, I want to show you, I replaced the description section on the character sheet that you see in the book. I put in all 1 through 32d6 rolls. The reason I did that is that many times during the course of the gameplay, you're going to have a reason to roll some amount of dice that isn't necessarily directly reported on or recorded on your character sheet. For example, if you go all out, you're going to get +2 dice on that roll in Prowlers and Paragons. So say I'm using Reliance Might, which I frequently do because that's what he does, 15 dice, but I really need to punch the crap out of Iron Monarch. So I want to roll 17 dice. I'm going to go all out and roll 17 dice. I went ahead and preloaded that into this nice little box. So you have all these little preset blocks of dice that you can just roll as you need to. And what I might do for the quick bar is, since I know that I frequently go all out with Reliant, I probably drag that 17d6 into, well, no, I can't drag it from there. I'd have to drag it from over here. No, actions. I have to drag it from the actions. So I could scroll down to the 17D. I'm really jumping ahead to some advanced stuff here. I drag the 17D over there, and then I've got it into the quick bar. So jumped ahead for those of you who are trying to do the look ahead. I'll show that again in a few minutes. All right, so I was just showing you how to put in your stats. All right, so the stuff that all the characters have, you know, they have edge, they have all the abilities, they have all the talents. We've put that in. Showed you the cool dice roll block for later. This is where we're going to put powers in. I'm going to save that for a minute. If we had any perks to put in, so for example, he has fame, so I will click on that. Now what I just did is I just pre-filled it with this insert perk with these lines, just so that it's a placeholder. So I'm going to select all of that. I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to replace it with fame. So boom, now fame is on the character sheet as one of his perks. And that's it. Literally, you just you open and you replace the text with something else. So he also happens to have HQ, the base called Haven, which he put 3 hero points in. So boom, that's one of my perks for that character, and I just put that in. Now gear, right? He's got all these different gear, so we could do, it's exactly the same thing. Insert gear. He's got a communicator, so I can just put that in. Now here's the point. I'm going to go ahead and give you a pro user tip here. If you are going to be playing using the Astral system, and you're going to have your regular character sheet up in another tab somewhere, you don't necessarily have to put all this stuff in. If you're going to be playing this character regularly with different GMs, you probably want to put as much of this stuff in as possible, because that way you can import the character into their game instance, and then they can just open up the character sheet and look at all the stuff without having to look at a separate file. But if you're pretty much going to be playing with the same GM all the time, and they already have a digital version of your character, you don't necessarily have to fill in all of these text things, because the flaws, the gear, all these other kinds of things, they're just informational on this sheet. And if that information already exists elsewhere, and you're only ever playing the character with the same people, you're just going online with it, you'll make the choice that you need to make. But for completionists, all of this stuff is here, including the details section and the connection section. Ooh, look at that. There's a resolve tracker. Let me go ahead and show you how that works. So the resolve tracker is done as checkboxes. It's the one thing I didn't mention, or I mentioned before, but I didn't show you how I did anything with it. I created checkboxes so that during game, people can directly, record the spend and gaining of resolve. For those who are neophytes to Prowlers and Paragons, resolve is the cool player economy that you can spend to do cool stuff, like make the environment have something cool that you want, to stunt your powers, to re-roll bad die rolls, and so on and so forth. So the way you use resolve, though, you have to be out of the character builder, because I've already built this by dragging checkboxes in and putting them in here. So to set Reliance Resolve, I have to get out of this, and then I go back and I look, and he's got 3 resolve. So I click on 3 of these bad boys to fill in the boxes, and now when I go into game with someone with this character, I'll have my 3 resolve in the resolve tracker. But say I punched Iron Monarch and it just didn't do crap because I rolled way too many bad dice. I'm going to spend a resolve. Boom. That's it. That's now there's a way to track resolve during gameplay, and it will be reported right on the character sheet. All right, so we're going to go back into build character.
Sean?
Yes.
Sean Beatty's asking, so if any changes are made, oops, wait, everything just changed. It was a long time ago. If any changes are made to this template in the future, it will automatically update the one we made a character to a character one prior to the upgrade?
If you're using the official Prowlers and Paragons template, and I make any changes to the background sheet, yes, the background sheet will alter and your stuff will get superimposed onto that background sheet. If I make any core changes to this template functionally, no, I don't think it's not going to automatically go in and recalculate all of that stuff for everybody else. which is why I worked really hard on making sure I got this right the first time. Bree, do you have any thoughts on that?
So we are still trying to get the templates updated for functioning if we need to. And that is something Sketch, who is one of the developers, I think that's the best word. He wears many hats, as Sean knows.
Yes, he's also customer service.
Yes. We submit the updated template to him, and then we get that updated, but it does take a little bit of time for that template to be updated in our system because we have to get it approved by the publishers, but because we are closely working with you guys, it shouldn't be a problem at all.
No, it wouldn't be a problem, but my point being is, say somebody makes a character using the template I've currently got going on here, and they fill in all the information, and then Len goes, I hate your character sheet, Sean, you have to change it, I am a tyrant. This is not actually true. But if it happened and he made me move the powers to some other section on the character sheet, that's not going to automatically move the powers that they've already filled in for their character, unfortunately.
No, it will not. It's something we would have to adjust, but with our system, it is not that hard to get it adjusted when we have to move things around because it is the text-based, it is all blocks, and you can easily move that stuff around in your system. Right.
So, it'd be some work, but it could be done. But yes. I'm of the opinion that thankfully Prowlers Paragons is a solid enough game that we don't need to make a whole lot of changes to what we've created here, and this will function fine as is for everybody. And I think they'll be self-evident once we get there. If we did make any changes, it would be, like I said, to the background image, the sheet that lies behind all of this stuff that we're playing with right now. And I would, Len and I would both make sure that whatever came in laid in behind the stuff appropriately. Because there would be really no good to come of changing all that around and having your resolve number, for example, located here, but we changed the sheet around so the resolve block is somewhere up here, but your number 3 still sitting there where we've suddenly decided to put Len's face as in Len We Trust, and suddenly it's got your character sheet appears and has a 3 over his face, and it would just be a dumb idea on our part. So right now it is kind of like this is it, and you'll put your stuff in this way. If we do make changes, we try to make sure the changes were as low impact on what you've already created as possible. All right.
And the Astral community is here to help you guys out. So just feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you out of what we need to do to be able to fix it, to help you guys adjust it.
All right. So thank you very much. I'm going to say we're back in character build. There's this is up here is where the character quote is. If you want to fill in the character quote, you can. But let me go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of powers. This is the last really big important thing to creating or to importing, not creating, but importing your character into this system. So it's pretty simple, but I want to make a very specific distinction between powers that you roll and powers that you don't roll. For purposes of this character sheet, it was important to put a section where non-rolled powers could be listed, but not take up a slot that you really need specifically for things that you're going to use as actions in the game. So for example, in Reliance list of powers, the first thing is abilities as superpowers, agility, might, and toughness. Well, that's just an indication of his powers and his abilities. So I'm not actually going to even bother to put that on here. It's on the character sheet over there. It's not pertinent to this particular sheet. So we're going to skip that. We're going to go to the next one, armor of 15 dice. Now, armor of 15 dice is something that he's going to roll frequently because people are constantly punching him in the face. So the first thing we do is we click on this, insert power 1. Now, you'll note this is the square we get, and it's giving us all kinds of options. These options are kind of showing what's going to be happening here and let you like adjust and modify it. It's really important that you follow the directions I wrote. Now, you guys remember I linked the Astral Guide to Using Prowlers and Paragons as a Google Doc. If you're watching this and you get it and you're good, fine. If you get confused though, go back and please read that document, because if you mess with this thing outside of what I'm showing you, you're going to make it unplayable for yourself, and it will be frustrating for you and your GM. So this, we can't modify anything yet. It's just giving me some options: chat action or the sheet display. We're going to stay on the chat action. I'm going to click on that again, and now I can modify this. The action title, which is not going to appear on the sheet. It's going to appear, however, in the chat box when you use this ability. So as a general rule, it's a good idea to use the same name in both the action title and in the sheet display. So I'm just going to write in armor 15 dice, because that's a thing that he can roll. And here's the trick. This little weird code here is a thing that's only going to make sense to people who do this kind of coding. To the rest of us, it's like, what the hell is that? Now, if anybody cares, I'm going to real quick go over it. The exclamation point is, hey, roll this. The parentheses says, here's the code of stuff to roll. The little squigglies are, look here for number of dice. And in this case, it's 15 dice. So I write 15 in there in place of those hashtags. The hashtags get replaced with however many dice we're rolling. The D is dice. Now, this is how we managed to get Prowlers and Paragons to work on Astral. We created custom 6-sided dice inside the code of the game. So there are 3 zeros, there are 2 1s, and there's a 2. That is essentially what the die is in Prowlers and Paragons. We roll the 6-sided dice. 1s, 3s, and 5s count as 0 successes. 2s and 4s count as 1 success, and the 6 counts as 2 successes. So boom, we just custom did the dice, and now it will just report to you how many successes, and off we go. And then we actually wrote in successes here so that when it's clicked on, it will say armor 15 dice, and it will tell you how many successes I rolled. Now, I've put it in there. Now I go over here to the sheet display. On the sheet display, it also says insert power 1. So I just armor 15 dice. And yes, I know I could have copy pasted and said, but you know, whatever. We all do our own thing. So now, and then click away so that it auto saves. If you click on one area and it doesn't seem to want to do it, click somewhere else. So now I have armor 15 dice on the character sheet. And when I use it in the game, I will be able to click on that armor 15 dice, and it will report that I've rolled 15 custom Prowlers and Paragons dice, and it will tell the game and the GM how many successes we got. And again, I'm going to show you how that works in a minute. Let's go ahead and put in source. You know, you don't have to, but you know, if you want to be complete about it, you can. That's why I put it in there. Pros and cons. All right. There are no pros and cons on his armor. It's just a straight up thing. So what I'm going to do there is just I'm going to delete that, because there's no, or I could have left it in there as a space holder. But the reason I did that, and this is just a personal thing. You don't have to do this. This is power user stuff here. If I wanted to make sure I had more room for other stuff, I could grab this and actually drag it up. And then I could do the same thing with all the other powers. And I could make more room to insert more powers in there. So the next power, you know what, let's just move that back for now though, because you know, like I said, that's sort of an advanced thing. But I did want to go ahead and take a moment to show you guys that yes, you can modify the sheet directly. You can move stuff around. You can make your sheet whatever you want. When you go in there, you can drag stuff around. You can rename anything that you want. There's all kinds of ways you can play with this. And I encourage you to have some fun with it once you feel comfortable with the core. Now, the next power that's listed on his character sheet, and that's why I want to show you over here real quick, is attuned magnetics and geomagnetic fields. That's not something I'm going to roll. It's just a thing he has. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this box. Now you'll note I'm literally selecting all of that and deleting it. Now it's just empty. And that's fine, because it was just kind of to hold the space there, kind of show you that stuff goes there. But I'm going to write in attuned magnetics and geomagnetics. Now, I'm watching the screen up here because it's going to flow over. If I said, you know, and raccoons, for some reason, you'll note that just kind of wandered off the thing. Now I'm totally wandering off the reservation anyway, being attuned to raccoons. But anyway, I just wanted to show that. So you look up there and you go, that's not fitting in. So I need to, hit enter and make it move down there. So that's just a layout thing, right? There's no automatic carriage return over there because it's just kind of a text box that kind of get in there, and there was no way to code that in that I could tell. So once you are running off the side, you can kind of see as you're typing in how to fix that, and you just hit enter, and now I've got him attuned to magnetics, geomatics, and raccoons. All right, there we go. So that is his other thing. Now let's go ahead and put in a power that has pros and cons, just so I can show how I meant to do that. He has a blast. So we go ahead and insert here. It is a blast of 14 dice, 14D. I'll go ahead and select and copy it because I'm going to put it in elsewhere. And I'm going to put in the 14 right there so that it knows to roll 14 dice when I use that ability. Sheet display, same thing, blast of 14 dice. Okay, all that's in there. It's a superpower, so we make that super. Now, it has a crap ton of pros and cons. So that is another text box. Insert pros and cons, delete that, and then I got to put in his various things. I'm going to show you something kind of interesting here. Again, it's a power user thing, but it's important because sometimes people build powers with lots of pros and cons. So we've got build up. You can't use it right away. Overkill, when he does use it, he can make it do really stupid stuff. Side effects. Minus 2D sight for 3 turns. Uh-oh. We are going off the thing again. All right, well, how am I going to fit that in? I don't know, because I'm like right up against this other power here. There's a couple of ways to approach this. So under sheet display, you'll note that it does let you choose the font, the color, all the other cool stuff here. General rule, I wouldn't mess with it, but if you want to, you can. The font size, however, is a thing that you can definitely play with here to fit that thing in. So I can drop that down to like a 26, and it automatically shows you what it looks like there. So boom, I've now fit that in. Now, if I really need to fit something else in, and I do, because this thing also has signature, this is where you start kind of playing around a little bit with the formatting. This is where I'm going to drag the blast up to there to make some more room. I'll drag the super up there as well, so it's positioned. I'll go ahead and drag this text box up, right? And then comma, I'll go ahead and hit enter, and I will put signature in, and it all fits. But this is where you get to the little bit of tinkering to make things fit in for your character sheet, because again, we're kind of having to work with what they've crafted and what we've laid in behind it and how it has to play. Saw that Brett raised his hand, so let me go ahead and take a pause here. What do we got for questions and stuff, folks?
Well, just being OCD like me, are you able to snap to anything? Like if it's off, or is it just, you just have to do it by eye?
Yeah, this sheet will drive OCD people crazy. I'm sorry for that. But because of the flexibility of the sheet, it requires, there's no snap to, there's no has to fit here, so that people can move stuff around and fit in as they want. It is an incredibly flexible system, and the price for that flexibility is you can move stuff anywhere. If somebody wanted to move their powers over to where it was sitting on top of the logo or whatever, they could, because that's the way this sheet works. Do we have any other burning questions? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you, copy.
Okay. Anybody else with a raised hand that we've missed?
Jason was asking, this is probably a Brianna question. I noticed this is being recorded. Does Astral have other tutorials like this that have been recorded for all the other parts of the system?
Yes, we actually do have quite a lot of different tutorials out there. And let me see if I have to double check with my husband, because my husband designed the bot for Astral, but We do have a fair amount of different tutorials out there that can help us out. Let me see if I can get that information for you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Professor is asking for a quick 5-minute break, depending on how close to done you are.
Well, we do have another whole part to do, but yes, we will do a. Thank you. We will do a break. I will let me finish up this last little bit that I'm on, and then we will go ahead and call a 5-minute break and come back and continue.
And real quick, Joe Thomas was asking, as I understand, we should be able to click away to save, correct?
Click away to save. Yes, that is correct. So anytime that you make any kind of a thing, and I'm going to go back into the share screen now to make sure I am showing exactly that. To demonstrate it again. So let's go into, let's put his immortality in here. So, and I'm skipping a lot of his powers, but let's just put immortality again. That's a power you don't roll, which is why I'm putting it in that big text space there. So I've written it in there and you can see it on the thing. And then I just move up here somewhere on the sheet where there isn't anything, click that. It is now auto-saved to the character. All right. So the last thing I want to show before we'll go ahead and take the break, and then we'll do part 2, which is, you know, what happens when I put this character into a game space. That will be the next part. But let me go ahead and show, this is what Bree was trying to show you guys before, is this quick bar thing down in here. You'll note that the first box has an E. That is your edge. I went ahead and established that all of these templates automatically put edge in the first thing because that it needs to be, because the first thing you do in combat is make sure everybody's edge is recorded appropriately. You know, in the tabletop version, everyone gets their name written in the right order on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper or whatever. In this game, when the GM says, all right, everybody, we need to click edge, that's in the first box. So it's automatically set. You don't have to worry about it. Then it's up to you to decide what you want to have quick access to. Now I'm going to go ahead and point out this thing does expand out. You've got lots of slots to play with here. And these are hotkeys. So there's, you know, the shift and everything like that. I haven't done any of that. I just click on the boxes because they're right there on the screen when we're playing, and you're going to see that. So you just mouse over the box and click it. So because I said that he uses his might a lot, I'm going to put that into number 2. You'll note I went over and I dragged and dropped it into that box. It doesn't take it off of anything. It's just showing me that it's going into that box. Let's go ahead and put his, we just got to scroll down. You just have to kind of scroll down and see all the stuff. And I think I scrolled right past it. Yeah, his armor, I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. We'll go ahead and put his blast there. You know, I probably roll perception pretty frequently in the game. So we scroll up to perception. It's the action of perception, not the stat. So we drag perception over there. Boom. So I've quick loaded a bunch of things that are actions in the game that he's likely to take and things that he's likely to roll. And it will be entirely up to you to decide which things go where. You can move stuff around, like I'm not, you know, I'm going to move armor here and like keep all my action stuff here and my defense stuff over here. You can play with this any way you want, dragging and dropping. You know, you're not going to break it if you play with it either. It's fine. I like the 17d6. I dragged that over because he goes a lot of the time. So I went and found the 17d6 in the stack of dice blocks. I went and grabbed that and pulled it over. You'll see a lot of the insert powers because I haven't put things in. Now, so that's how you set up, and that's how you reduce, and that's how you set up your quick bars, or your quick, like I said, I call it quick bar, or you want to call it hotkeys, quick bar, whatever. You can write in all this stuff here. Now, I want to point out, because a lot of people like to have very complex characters with lots of powers and lots of cool stuff, I went ahead and crafted a second page and tacked it in. I just used a neat little background, and then I stuck in a powers image. So if you run out of room for rolled powers up here, you're fine. You just move down to here and put more in. And you actually, if you have really complex powers that need lots of space to write in all the stuff, then you could scroll down here anyway and use this so that you can do that. One other trick I'm going to point out, if you have a lot of different blasts, and you during the game, you want to be able to click on a blast, but you want to know which blast is doing what. So for example, this is my just normal blast, but say for some reason, I also had a penetrating blast. I'm actually going to say blast, I think penetrating is 4 points. So blast 10D penetrating. I'm actually going to write that in the action title, because when I'm playing the game and I hover over, I want to find my penetrating blast. I'll be able to quickly find my penetrating blast. Now in the sheet display, oops, screwed that up. Blast 10D, and rightfully so, penetrating is a pro and con, so you'd actually put penetrating in here for purposes of how you would normally write stuff on a character sheet. However, let's now find blast over here. Yeah, so you see the blast 10D penetrating. Now I put that in there. What that means is I'm quickly playing the game, we're going along. There's my blast 14D. There's my blast 10D penetrating. I can quickly find it, and when I click on it, it will report that it's a blast 10D penetrating into the chat window, which is a nice thing to tell your GM, because it's good that they know that it's penetrating blast, because that affects their decision as a GM. So that's an interesting thing to do for this particular style of sheet for this game. All right, so what I want to do now is stop sharing screen for a minute. I'll go back and share it again as we need to. We're going to do a quick round of questions, and then we'll take a brief 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll do the characters are in a game instance. How does that work? So any other questions at this point?
Yeah, there was a question, just to make sure it gets asked, about editing. Where was it? I think editing like the letters instead of P and B and all that. Can you put an icon in there so that you have a blast icon or a pistol icon or a sword icon or a shield or armor that's so that your hot buttons are even easier to tell apart?
Unfortunately, no, not yet. Bree, is that something?
Actually, it's possible. If you, can I share my screen? Is that possible?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay, let me see here. Let me see if I can.
And I just saw somebody else asking about exploding dice, but I was going to say, please, folks, there's too many people here. You got to use the blue raise hand thing so that we know that you have a question.
Give me 1 second here. I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen, so that way I can help you guys out and show you. Oh, there it is. Forgive me. It's been a while since I've used Zoom, but I'm going to go back to my Astral. I have it up here for Prowlers and Paragons. But like Edge, I can go into my build character. Excuse me. Let me see if I can make this bigger for us so that way it's easier to see. Come on. There we go. So when I go into like agility and I want to edit it, I can actually go into the chat icon, the chat action here, and select an icon. Now the icons are currently limited. We don't have the ability to change those icons, but we do have them. So let's say agility, we pick this, we'll pick a bear pod just to make it easy. So now you'll see that icon there, and when you drag it down to the action bar, you'll have that icon there.
Okay, cool. I did not know that. I just learned something new along with the rest of you guys. So you can create an icon-driven quick bar instead of letter. I'm going to start using that. That's, yay, power user. Thank you.
That's why I'm an Archmage, because I've learned different things that helped a lot of different people out.
All right, so now we know how to do, and you can change the color of that icon too, because if
Correct.
you click that open again, you can change the color to any number of colors, and so you can have different colored icons as well. So you can use the same icon to represent 3 different things, but use different colors to represent 3 different.
Right.
Whatever.
And also, if you, I'm a photography nut, so forgive me. But if you know like the hex code of a specific color that you want, you can even put that into the sheet here, and it will change it to that color. That
is serious power user stuff. All right, so.
And I'll be happy to go over this with anybody else. You are welcome to message me. I have no problem helping out with that.
Very cool. So yes, you can turn your hotkey / quick taskbar. You can use icons for that. Now, I did notice somebody was asking about exploding dice. I just happened to catch that. But if anybody's been asking questions in the group chat, but you didn't do the raise hand thing, you got to do that because it's the only way Jennifer's going to know to make sure I get the question. Huh?
You think for 1 second I haven't been watching the chat the whole time?
Okay. I was trying to make your life easier, but okay. She's good like that. But it would be helpful if you use the raise hand thing. But I'm going to go ahead and address the exploding dice thing, and then we'll take a break. The exploding dice. So occasionally you have situations in Prowlers and Paragons where your dice explode. And because Sean loves to tinker, some of the settings will have even more ways to do exploding dice. There is no mechanical way to do that right now. We may figure out how to add that in later. I was just really wanted to get this going, and because exploding dice doesn't come up that often, it's pretty easy to do manually. So that's kind of how we're approaching it right now. We may figure out a coding way to do exploding dice and launch that. If we do, we're going to have to figure out a way to make it so that it doesn't screw the sheet up or anything. But if you want to do exploding dice, it literally is a matter of going in to when you roll the dice. See, this is unfortunate. I have a hard time explaining this without being in an instance. So I'm going to deal with this more later, but there is a way to go in and see how many 6s effectively you rolled because they are reported as 2s. And then you just go in and roll some more dice to represent however many of those came up. I will show you how that works when we get there. I saw somebody else raise their hand.
I think it was JF.
So whoever that was, go ahead and turn on your microphone and your camera and talk to me.
They don't want to talk to you. They want a 5-minute bio break.
There was somebody who raised their hand.
It was me, but you already answered the question when you were talking.
Oh, cool. All right, last chance before the break. Like I said, go ahead.
Also, just wanted to say hi, Sean, and wanted to ask you to give Corinne a hug for me, and that's really about it.
Who's this? Randall
Cram.
Randall! Oh my God, so good to see you, my friend. Tell you what, we're going to have a hangout after when we're done tutorial. Anybody else? We will do just an online hangout after, just so I can meet up with a bunch of friends I know who joined today who otherwise don't get to chat with very much.
All right, I'll try to get Bob to get in here at some point too.
Cool. All right, so last chance for any oh God, I need to know this before we go on break. No? Okay. So 5-minute break. It is 1:15. We'll be back at 1:20, and I will show everybody what this game looks like in an actual instance. In the meantime, if you have to go, thank you for joining us. And I am recording this, so if you missed the second part, we'll have it recorded, and I'll figure out where to post it and how to post it out so everybody has access to it. All right. Somebody's saying stop the recording. Can I do that?
Yep. Pause record.
Pause record. All right, I'm going to pause record. 5-minute break. See you in 5. And let's go ahead and show what happens when we get into. I just did. She was making sure I resumed record. So anyway, going back to the game, but I'm actually going to go ahead and skip over to this screen now, where I already have the Sentinels game set up. But let me go ahead and show you just real quick how the process works. So technically I'm ending a session, but for GMs and stuff like that, you're going to see this, and players are going to see some of the same things, but they may not see all the exact same bits and pieces. But you'll show up here and you'll have the join game option. So we click on join game, and then it shows this screen here. It says start playing. I click that, and it's loading up a bunch of stuff. Now you saw those windows that just sort of slid off to the sides. This has a hover over kind of thing going on. So if you hover over this side, it shows you stuff popping up over here. This is the character tab that lets you go through and figure out characters on different maps and pull them in. This is the map section. Right now, only other map I have on this is the nest hangar, which is the team's base. So I use that as sort of a default place, and then I can load in other maps. That's more of a GM tutorial thing, though, so I'm not going to get too far into it. But you can load other maps, and they'll be in a stacked column here, and you can change over to different maps. You know, you can mess with weather effects and stuff like that. Initiative tracker, I definitely want to show you what's going on there. For now, what I'm going to do is empty this out because I want to show it clean and clear. So I've just pulled everybody out of the initiative tracker, so we don't have anybody in there. But what I've done is I've set up a battle, and there's Technomancer, Ray, Cassidy Lane, Magpie, and Myrmidon. And if Myrmidon looks surprisingly like the Rock, that's because you can use anything and turn it into a token. That's just how that is. And then I grabbed a bunch of really cool tokens from the stuff. They're actually golems, but they look really robotic, so I use them for cool robot looking and powered armor looking guys. Now hover over here and we get the chat screen. Now let me go ahead and clear this off too, just so it's nice and there's pretend nothing was there, right? So those, and you can hover over, but you can also pin them. So I can like hit that little pin and it will make this window stay open so I can see what's going on, but it eats up a lot of real estate. So generally speaking, I don't want to leave it pinned. Same thing as I can go over here and I can pin this. Now, let me just show you what happens when you've got a character loaded up. We'll go with Myrmidon. He's a big, tough brick type. So, you know, I'm clicked on Myrmidon, and you hit. There's the hotkey that's kind of important is spacebar. I can hit spacebar. I can just open up his character sheet. Right, he's all set there, and there's all this cool stuff. And you know, he's a pretty straightforward, simple character, which is fine because I kind of want to show that off. He's got 17D might, all this other kind of stuff going on. Now, what we've got on here is his character sheet and all this other kind of stuff, but really don't need to have it open to do stuff in the game because I've already got his edge set right there. There's his might, which he uses a lot. There's his armor. There's his agility, because he sometimes uses that to dodge out of the way. And there's his perception. And that's pretty much the only things he ever rolls. He's got a lot of depth as a character, but in terms of mechanics, not as much going on, and that's okay. So if I wanted to have him just throw, you know, a punch with might, just kind of show what happens, I just click on that. And you'll note that there was a thing there, and it tells me that there's something in the chat window. So I wander over and I look, and I say, look, might, 12 successes. Now, you'll notice I hover over that block. It shows you what happened with the dice rolls. This is a custom die roller, so it's not going to be 1s, 2s, and through 6s. It's going to be like I was talking about before. So it'll show you how many of the dice came up as 0 successes, how many of them came up as 1 success, and how many came up as 2. And as we look through that, we can see that 2 of the dice came up as 2 successes. Those would count as 6s. We were asking about exploding dice before. So let's say for some reason he was doing an action that allowed him to explode his 6s. He spent a resolve to do so. There's like, for example, if we were doing the team attack thing, he actually would have rolled 2 more dice anyway. But let's go ahead and say that he rolled the 2 extra dice, but only 2 of them came up as 6s. But he wants to explode those 6s. Spends the resolve to do it. So all we got to do real quick, open up his character sheet, go down to where the dice rolls are, hit one of those bad boys, and two more dice were rolled. And we got 1 more success. So that would count as 13 total successes. Now, if that had come up as a, if there was a 2 there, you could keep rolling or whatever, but you would do it manually like that. So that's really it as far as, how to play with the character. The GM, say, okay, you can move over here, right? So, you can double click on the map and cause these little cool blips to pop up. So you can say, hey, can I drop an area effect attack there? Will that affect all these guys? All that kind of stuff that lets you communicate with the GM. I want to move my character there. Do I have X, speed? Can I make there? The GM will say, sure, no problem. I'm going to engage that guy in melee, all that kind of stuff. All right. So last thing I want to show you, this part 2 is going to be really brief, actually. The last thing I want to show you is the whole initiative tracker thing, because for GMs, this is really freaking cool. Now you'll note I've opened that up. I'm going to go ahead and pin it open so that I can kind of see what's going on. And it will let me add either from map, from party, or custom. Well, I'm going to just say I've put all the guys on the map. I know I'm going to have a battle going on there. So I'm just going to add everybody from the map. So add all. They're all on there. However, they're just sort of randomly thrown on there because initiative hasn't been rolled yet. So let's go ahead and unpin that. And at this point is where I'm going to tell everybody, roll your edge. I think I screwed that up though, because I think I had to start combat first. Let me check something. So yeah, everybody's edge rolled. Yes, okay, it doesn't matter. I didn't have to start combat yet. So all the players would have clicked on their ease, which is rolling their edge. Me as a GM, I would click on each of these bad boys and just click on their edge. A little, you know, click, move. But once it's done, it's done. Now, if you'll note, everybody is on, well, I think I missed a couple of people apparently. Vortex. Oh, Vortex not even on the map. I don't know why she got put on there. And Nova Trooper 2 is not on, or Nova Trooper 1. Okay, apparently I missed him. So let's try him again. And there, okay. So now you'll see everybody, quote, rolled their edge. What it really did is it ordered everybody according to their edge number, right? And then I hit start combat. And the first person to go is Myrmidon. If you scroll in, there's like a little red thing going on there. So it outlines the character, but the player is told it is their turn, right? So Myrmidon would take his turn. You know, he will jump over because it's the biggest thing on the board, and he will punch the Aeon Titan. So he rolls his might. We go over and see that he rolled 12 successes again. Seems like that's an ongoing thing for him. The Aeon Titan, I will look at him, and he's going to defend with his armor, which is also 17 dice. Yes, this is a very high dice game. I've been playing for a while. And I roll that for the Aeon Titan, and the Aeon Titan got 10 successes. Okay, so Myrmidon did 2 points of damage. What do I do there? I click on the Aeon Titan. There is this really cool heal damage HP thing. There's also center on character. Make sure that he's added to the combat. I already know he is. I can open up his character sheet. I could open up and see the player view as a GM. But in this case, the really most important thing is here. I go in, and he did 2 points of damage. So I write 2 there, and I damage the character. Boom, you see that the health bar has been affected because he's now 10 out of 12. And as Myrmidon keeps pounding on him, that's going to go down until it's 0, and he's, you know, then I take him out of the combat. That's it, folks. That's the game. That is how you play. Once Myrmidon has taken his action, he's given an option to click, you know, next person. If for some reason the player of Myrmidon had walked away from the screen or whatever, then I can go in and I can go ahead and click and make it Ray's turn. And then Ray would take her turn and then go on straight down the thing. And it tells you whose turn it is. You go on. I will get it when it comes to one of my bad guys. I will get a report on the screen. Let me go ahead and pick Slam. And see, you see on my screen, it says it's Slam's turn. Each of the players is going to have on their screen that it's their turn. So then I would have Slam run over because he loves Myrmidon. Actually, they're like, you know, he thinks Myrmidon is his best friend, but he loves fighting him because he's a professional wrestler themed guy. It's a long story. But anyway, he'll come over and do something useless, and Myrmidon will probably laugh at him. And then I end his turn, and it tells me it's Cassidy Lane's turn. And it just goes on from there. All right, and it will continue to tell me whose turn it is all the way through. There we go. That's how you do things in the game with the character sheet that I was just showing you guys how to build. Right.
I see Jason Kubik has a question.
Yeah, I was wondering what the players see. Do they see like the health tracker and all that?
Yeah. If you're playing, you can see that the Aeon Titan is damaged. Everyone can see that. So they you know, it's, everybody will know what kind of condition. I could hide that if I wanted to, but as a general rule, you know, you can see it all. And I let it be seen because, you know, obviously you can tell if somebody's hurt. You also know.
We don't see the numbers. We just see the tracker though. And like if the color of how, like if it's down or whatever.
Oh, okay. So I apologize. You won't get the exact health report, but you'll see the bar go down. So you have a sense of how bad off it is. Now you'll note here, this character's got this little icon here, right? Because somebody did another thing to it. Somebody hit him with a stun or something like that. The way that worked is, I went into the character sheet and I looked at the status icons, and it lets me open up and add status icons. So I want to say somebody has made it where he can't talk. I don't know. I can actually change the color by just kind of scrolling through. Apparently, I thought I could. What the heck? I thought there was a way to. No, there was. I used to be able to change the color of it, and I can't remember how that.
Right click to change colors.
Oh, right click. Yeah, there it is. Sorry, I was an idiot there for a second. So I can use it for different things, and then he's now got this new status icon on him, and that stuck to him until I get rid of it. And that's the way I can do things like if they're losing turns. If they're losing turns, I can put like multiple X's, multiple different colored X's on them. There's just different ways I can play with the status icons to indicate what's going on with these guys during combat. But again, that is more of a full GM tutorial, which I didn't want to really do as much of today. I just wanted to show the character input and then how to play with the character on the screen. I will set up and do a GM tutorial. Yes, Marion, you can absolutely. I don't use grids because it is not a tactical game, although I will be using grids for my epic hero scale games because I actually do tactical at that level. But yes, you can totally turn the grid off or turn the grid on. There is an embedded grid in the actual system that you can lay over any map.
Okay, I did get a private question from David Anderson. I just want to bring this up because this was a great question from him. He's asking if the tokens lock like other virtual tabletops, meaning that only the GM can move those tokens or has to approve movement. I explained to him, no, you, the GM, and the players both have that opportunity to move your token wherever you would like to move it. It does not have to be strictly the GM.
Okay. Jennifer is still our main host. I don't know where she is.
I'm here.
Okay. Well, who else do we got? And what else do we got?
I just have one thought, Sean, which is having used this system, when we're talking about the exploding dice, what I'm wondering is if it might not be worthwhile to put on that second row of magic wand icons, 1 die, 2 die, 3 die, 4 die, 5 die. So when you check up, without having to click back into the character, you can literally, if you're going to playing a game where the exploding dice comes up often.
That is absolutely an option. I thought about embedding some of those dice rolls into the quick bar for everyone automatically, but I decided not to because I wanted everybody to have an option for how they wanted to set up their quick bars. But that would be a really good power user move. If like I did with Reliant, if I know that I'm going to be all out attacking, then I'm going to go ahead and put in the die roll for all out into the quick bar. So I'll put the extras. I'll put the 17 dice in there because I know I'm going to use it frequently. But yes, if you're playing in a game where there's going to be a lot of exploding dice, using that second row of quick boxes for that would be a pretty good thing to do. Jennifer, do we have anybody else with questions or raised hands? Okay, well, I'm going to say that this is pretty much as I had intended to cover at this time. So let's do a last round of anybody comments or questions that are still here. Starting with Brett, do you have anything?
I was just asking about if the tracker changed color as it went down, but it was answered in chat, so I do know it stays the same.
Bob? You're muted.
Hold on.
Which Bob?
You.
You.
There we go. The only thing I wanted to note, first off, thanks. This has been really interesting. I've greatly enjoyed seeing it. I've run a few online campaigns using other services. As a GM, you're going to have to accept that it takes a lot more prep work to run online games than you ever are going to expend in face-to-face games. If you normally schedule, say you're running a 4-hour game and you normally schedule 4 to 8 hours to prepare for that game, online, you're going to have to go for 8 to 16 hours to make sure that everything goes fast and smooth. And that's even with a really nice tool set like this. You're going to have to sink in the prep time, and that's just something you have to keep in mind.
No, having said that, I completely agree, but I've started already picking up some tricks and tips kind of thing to make it faster and easier. Once you preset some basic character templates for bad guys, which, by the way, I'm just going to say this right up front, you can totally cheat as long as you have a token and a name and a threat rating. You pretty much can run that as your bad guys. And yes, I totally stealing that idea from Len in terms of his power use even at the table. But all you need to have is, and then if it's going to be like, okay, you've got 8 of these guys, like the Nova commanders, there's a duplicate. There's a duplicate option. Right click on the token and you can duplicate it up to 5 times at a time. And it'll spread out 5 more guys on the board. And it'll just give them numbers like Nova Commander 2, Nova Commander 3, whatever. And suddenly you have 8 guys to fight instead of just 1. And boom, you just, roll it. And I say, okay, well, this one guy's supposed to be special. So you go in, quick edit him up to, Nova Super Commander. And I give his threat rating better. And I give him some more health. Boom. So there are some ways to, and if you have a good stack of maps to pull in, you can quick throw a map on, you can quick throw some bad guys on, and at the very least run a fun combat encounter. And then the rest of it's just role play anyway. Okay, Jairith, aka Randall, you have anything?
No, I did just want to suggest to people that anytime they're online and they see an image that they think might at some point be useful, go ahead and snag it, because you never know when you might actually find a use for it. Also, never be afraid to ask your friends for a little bit of help for making characters or finding images for use for your games.
Yeah,
we're all in this hobby together, and we all know that we all need a little help sometimes.
And as you put that out there, I'll go ahead and say flat out, a lot of my players that I'm running this for have been less than enthusiastic about the work going into trying to put a character up on the screen. So as a GM, you may just have to. You may have to grab your base character sheets and go ahead and put them in yourself so that they're there for play because that's kind of the burden we all take on ourselves as GMs. But I will also say as players, if you're willing to go in and do that work yourself, it really helps because the GM's got a lot to do anyway. So either way, but in most cases, for me right now, like I'm running a lot of Shaintar games and I have to really do a weird cobbling and shoehorning to make the regular character sheet work for Shaintar. So at this point, I've just told all my Shaintar players, I'm just going to handle putting their characters up for them because it's going to be a hell of a lot easier than trying to explain how to do all the weird stuff to make that work. Ray, huh? Yes?
Just to let you guys know, you guys are welcome to create like a testing session. Like Sean had, he has like the PMP testing section. And you can make everybody a GM so that way they can make the villains in there. And then, Sean, you can just download those and import those into any game if the players wanted to do it that way. Just wanted to let you know that.
So yeah, I at some point it is my intention to create some useful preset stuff that people can grab and play with.
I'd also like to say real quick that when people were asking at the beginning why Astral, that's why Astral.
Yeah. Mic drop. Ray Greer.
He didn't want to talk to you right now.
Okay. This one, I want to know if Ray had anything to share.
In the sort of future, if you want to do the raise hands thing, repeat it once or twice. I tuned in a few minutes late, missed it completely, but that's okay. Picked it up in context. Lots of valuable tips. Hopefully some of those will be abstracted into a document so it's easy to read. But as a first, this is brilliant. Keep up the good work. There's plenty more to know, no doubt. And if you want people really working this thing, you're going to have to do one on game mastering, or 2, or 3 with some of these power user tips to get people up and doing it. So well done.
Thank you very much, Ray. For those who don't know, Ray's one of the original founders of Hero Games and one of my original mentors. That's where I made the joke about the edgelord thing on Facebook about I have to go rescue my mentors because the evil cultists took them or something.
Actually, I got to ask one thing.
Yeah.
So Len, now that the real world has got your baby, are you having trouble with sometimes them dressed it up and saying it looks ugly? Or are you really, really proud at all the stuff people are adding to it?
No, this isn't my first time at this particular rodeo. So, no, once it's out, it's out. I may look at stuff and go, wow, that's going to have implications mechanically that I don't know if you've thought your way through. But that's kind of like being a dad too, you know? I tell them a few times, don't do that. They keep doing it. I kind of stand back and wait for the crowd to start. You know, sometimes pain is the best teacher. So, but in any case, no, the fact of the matter is once it's out there, and I'm very much a believer in once it's in someone else's hands, it's not mine anymore. Just like every single game I've got on my shelf doesn't belong to whoever wrote it. It's mine now. So, no, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, and that's
I'm still reminding you that you said that later, Len.
Well, I mean, Ray knows that from way back too, and including like stuff that I did to the game from different than what they originally intended. But there's a little bit of a love fest here. For me, my original intent for Handfuls of Dice, my impetus for being involved with Prowlers and Paragons is to reclaim the glory and just the immense amount of community that was created and fun that was created around champions in the hero system, and I'm proud to be a part of this particular effort to create a new vision of that, a new version of that, but one that calls back very lovingly and very respectfully to the work that Ray, George, Steve, Bruce, and everybody else did. So and Michael, actually, Surbrook carried that torch for quite some time afterwards. Surbrook, Surbrook's creations and stuff like that. Michael, I'm actually going to skip you for right now and have you come in at the end just so you can not only if you have questions and comments, but also talk about stuff that you're doing for people who want to hang out and hear that. Robert Hudson, any comments or questions? Okay. David Anderson. Richard Brown, you're going to be next, just so you can prepare for it. Does Robert Hudson or David Anderson, neither one have anything? Robert, but no, looks good. Okay. Well, I saw it in chat then. David?
I'm good, Sean. That was outstanding. I just want to know when can we start playing?
Right now. That part of the point of this is to get you guys ready to go in and set up games and play around and make use of the tools.
And let's do it.
And I know Rich Brown, a good friend of mine. Richard, you're up, but I know he's already doing some stuff on Discord. I don't know if he's going to start translating over to Astral, but I know he's interested. What you got, Rich?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Yeah, I'm going to be doing this on probably starting next weekend to play it on Astral. Just need to work, that's all.
While I'm at it and thinking about it real quick, I'm going to grab the link to the Discord channel that all the Prowlers and Paragons folks are hanging out on. This is a permanent, never-ending link, so you don't have to worry about using it right away. But I just put it in the chat, so if anybody wants to go and hang out and talk to some of the people who are on Discord putting games together, that's cool. Did I see a raised hand?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I was wondering for Ray if someone was indeed recording this, so that he actually can go through and see the stuff that he didn't get to participate in later.
We recorded both parts. Well, I mean, we paused recording, but we recorded the whole thing. Yes.
All right, there you go, Ray.
Corinne, did you anything? Okay, she just yelled from the other room. So no, Marion.
No, I've just been commenting in chat.
Okay. Cool.
Prolifically.
There is someone named David, but it only says David on the screen. So David, who's not showing his last name.
Oh, sorry, Sean. No, I don't have anything.
Okie doke. Well, thank you. Jason Cubic.
Hey, Sean. Thanks for putting this together. It's been really informative. I like what you did with the character sheet. It looks great. And I like the map demo. That was great, too. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Curtis. I saw the mute go off, but
sorry about that. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for doing this, and we've actually started playing on Astral with this with our GM Walter Manbeck, and it's been going pretty good.
Thank you, very, very, very happy to hear that. Floyd, my friend, how about you? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for putting all this together. Really appreciate it. It is very, very informative. From personal experience, I'm going to say that the biggest obstacle I've had with Astral is my absolute lack of artistic talent in putting together maps. So I wholeheartedly endorse buying pre-made maps elsewhere and importing them yourself. But you do have the option of making your own from the template pieces that are in there if you have any sort of talent.
And Astral has a pretty decent store and a lot of freebie assets out there as well. Sean Beatty.
Thank you. This has been really nice to see. I've used the other one online, not as a game master, but as a player. So this is fun to see all the back end stuff, and I'm excited.
Thank you very, very much. Oliver. Okay. And very, very excited to see my dear friend from back in Tennessee, Dwayne Cole. How you doing, Dwayne?
Doing pretty good. It's good to hear from you, Sean. Thank you a lot for that.
Absolutely.
I do have a question that's a little different on task, because I've had trouble as a player and as a GM online getting everybody the opportunity to speak. And not feeling like you're either waiting for an opportunity that never comes or speaking over someone and feeling rude.
That is a tough one. And what we've had to do, the GM really has to do table management much more strongly even than a regular table. They've got to go around and they've got to throw, I do this a lot, say, okay, everybody time out. And then I'll go and I'll say, Jennifer, did you have something you were trying to say? Because some people do not want to feel like they're being bossy or trying to bowl their way through, but then at the same time other people are so excited. It's not usually anything nefarious or insidious. They're just so excited to be there and talking to people, especially under lockdown. And so it comes down to you envision the audio visual screen or whatever, and if you only got audio, then you've got to envision and remember who your players are, and you've got to go around the table and make sure everyone gets a chance to speak. And I would strongly encourage players to take that upon themselves as well. I try to be conscious of the fact that I'm a talker. I will just blah, 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 blah. But I will also stop and go, hey, did you have something that you wanted to say, Michael or Ray or whatever, and make sure to give the microphone to other people. So as a player, it's a wise choice. And if you feel like there's players that are getting stepped on, I don't think there's anything wrong. It's a kindness to step in and go, hey, I want to make sure Curtis got a chance to say something. and then everybody can stop then. And you've got to do some active management, both as a GM as a player, to make sure that's going on. Because at the table you can the physical space will sort of guide, like there's a conversation going on over here, there's a conversation going over here, and people can they can parse that, right? It's like, okay, they're talking over here and they're talking over here and whatever. It does not work as well online. So if you're gonna have a side conversation with another character, go ahead and take it to text. There's always a text or chat option in any of these things. Go ahead and pop that over into chat, so you're not talking over the larger group that's trying to converse, or do private chats or whatever. There's actually some really cool options to have those one-to-one conversations that are just meant for those two characters to have. That's a good idea if they record it and make sure the GM knows what the hell they were talking about. But otherwise, there's some neat tools that you can use there. But really, Dwayne, it comes down to everyone needs to have courtesy in mind. The GM needs to establish an expectation of that courtesy, and then needs to enforce that courtesy.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Yo, Len.
Yeah, I just wanted to underscore a point, but I think you hit it at the end, which is very letting people know at the outset that this is the way you're going to be running the game. So I think people have a different sense of being cut off, having someone say, hang on, let me see what this person wants to say. They have an entirely different sense of it if they're aware that you're doing the best you can to sort of run this online thing, as opposed to if you just hit them with it, particularly, as you said, because they're just excited to be talking to other human beings. Set the expectation at the outset that the game is going to be run like that, and that you may be jumping in occasionally to do that. And the reason you're doing that, and get everybody's buy-in for it. So that way, when it happens, you've lubricated the wheels a little bit, and it's not such a big deal.
All right, then. I think it's an excellent place to stop as far as the official recording of this is concerned. So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you, everyone, for being here. I will, in fact, put together a game mastering PMP on Astral event sometime in the near future, once I've had a chance to learn a few more things myself. But we'll do that down the road. As I said afterwards, people who want to just kind of hang out, I will leave the meeting open for a bit for people to chat and do some getting to know each other, and maybe put some games together. And for me, it's a chance to say hi to some old friends. So once again, yes?
I just want to say, guys, I posted the Astral Discord link in the group chat. Feel free to hop in there. It's a chat that does not, a link that does not expire, has unlimited uses. Please feel free to pop in there. Right now, we are very busy, so if you have to, just at the Archmages, try not to at the staff, because we try not to bother them too much. But at us, help. Feel free to hop in there, ask for help, look for games, do whatever you would like to do in there. We have an off-topic chat. Just even pop in and say hi. My username on Discord, if you even wanted to get in touch with me personally, is wolfhuntress3282 with the hashtag, of course, or pound, whatever you want to call it. So feel free to message me. Feel free to hop in there. We're always available to help. I can tell you this. Lamort, he's a nutso. He likes to be online a lot, so he'll help you out quite a bit. Also, Dark Fluid, very good with dice rolling. So if you guys need help with that kind of stuff, feel free to pop in there, and we'll help you out as much as we can.
And as Jennifer said earlier, that is exactly why we're on Astral, because they're very open. There's not a whole lot of them. That's the other thing you guys need to understand. Like, if you're looking at all the features that you'd like to see, it's a small team, and they were working with very low resources. Things have kind of exploded for them now, but they're still scrambling, and they made everything free for a while as a kindness to all of us stuck in this situation. So, we're with them because they're open and very helpful. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and hit the stop on the recording. Thank you, everyone. Like I said, I will leave the meeting room to hang out for continue, but I'm going to say goodbye now for the official demonstration. Until next time.